What's going on YouTube? My name's Abe. Welcome back to the second portion of our overall series of Zero to Hero hands-on IT knowledge to get your first IT help desk, system administrator, or cybersecurity job. So in today's episode, we're going to set up Virtualbox, Windows 2022 server, Windows 10 as a user, and pretty much go over little settings and tips. Just give ourselves a basis for all the further videos in this series that is going to teach you about network administration, system administration, group users, group policy, all that stuff within Active Directory and Windows Server. This is all important stuff to know if you are on the help desk side, if you're a at desk support technician, or if you're doing any type of system or network administration, or just understanding how basic IT tasks on a computer network work. So I'm not going to walk you guys through this, but real quick, guys, as you can see on the screen, there is some chopped portions because one, I wanted to cut out the time of me just sitting there waiting for the installation process to finish, and two, I cut out a couple mistakes with a little bit of trial and error, so I try to make it as smooth as possible. There will be a couple cuts you guys may notice. Once again, you didn't miss any information. I just put the right information in the video. And again, you'll see a couple parts in the video where attention to detail is everything. IT and computers are very picky and very specific to be able to function. So make sure you are using or paying attention to what you're doing in its entirety, especially like on the firewall rules page. There's a couple different things you'll see at the end of the video. Attention to details, everything. So if you're having an issue and you're following a step-by-step guide, ensure that you're doing exactly what they say and you have the same thing that's being shown. Virtualbox, it's self-explanatory. It's a wizard, right? And then the two files we're going to need will also be linked below, including Virtualbox. It's Windows 10, and then you would click download the ISO Enterprise, and this is just get started for free. It's like a 90-day trial. Whatever, right? Same thing for Windows Server. Go ahead and download the ISO. Don't do these other options. Download the ISO. And then you're going to, once you have VirtualBox installed, you're going to be on a window that looks just like this, but it's not going to have these servers over here. I did 2 servers to make sure I have all the steps right for the video, so it'll go as smoothly as possible, right? And so up here, this little blue like icon, whatever, you know, it's got a whole bunch of points on it, like a star. We're going to click new, and then we need to name the virtual machine. So we're going to do Windows 10 video. So, and then we have a couple options of the type of virtual machine it could be. Obviously, this is a Microsoft product, so we're going to do Microsoft Windows, and then Windows 10 64-bit because that's the ISO I had you guys download. And then don't worry about machine folder. That's wherever it's set to save your things. So memory size. If you have like 16 or 32 gigs of RAM or higher than 16, I recommend setting this to 4096 megabytes, just to allow your virtual machine to go a little bit faster. Don't change any of these settings. Leave them the same. So create a virtual hard disk now, virtual box disk image, dynamically allocated. Leave that the same. I just leave it at 50 gigs. If you have like a 256 gig hard drive or whatever, this should allow you to still do this, but if you don't want to, you can load to 30. But remember, it's dynamically allocated. So like as you use the space, it will expand the virtual machine hard drive. It won't just like instantly take up 50 gigs of your hard drive. It'll just cap it at 50 gigs if it uses 50 gigs. So before we start this virtual machine, we're going to go to settings. And under general, advanced, we're going to make bi-directional for, excuse me, your clipboard and your drag and drop. So what does this mean? This means like, hey, if I'm walking you through something and I want you to copy and paste something from your computer you're watching my video on to the virtual machine, this allows you to copy and paste. So Control C and Control V, right? And same thing goes backwards. If you have an error code on our virtual machines, because we're going to disconnect them from the internet, and you want to copy that into your web browser and your actual computer to try to find a solution, because remember, 50% of IT is just being a good Googler. This will allow you to copy it from your virtual machine to your actual desktop so you don't have to retype it in, right? So under systems, processors, you can leave this at 1 CPU. I have a 12 core 24 thread CPU. So I usually raise this to 4. If you're on like a, 4 core, 8 thread CPU, I wouldn't put this more than above 2 CPU cores or processors this uses, and I would just leave that the same. Display should already be at 128 megabytes, but if it's not, crank that thing all the way over there to make as smooth of a virtual experience as possible. And then that's it for now, just these top 3. We are going to use some network settings later, but that's not right now. And then once you have this virtual machine selected, Windows 10 that we just created, click the green start icon. And this will get us into the setup process. So right here, I already have Windows 10 Consumer Edition selected from what we had you guys download that I showed earlier. But if not, you can click add the virtual, or add the ISO file from your downloads folder, more than likely on your computer, right? And then that's fine. And so then it'll pop up here. Once you find that wherever it is on your computer, we're going to click start. There's going to be a couple important things that we need to make sure that you select when setting this up. So pay a little bit of attention. I know this is a little self-explanatory, but we want to make sure we cover everything for everybody, just because there's all learning levels here. And my whole goal is going from no knowledge to all the knowledge you're going to need for most of those entry-level jobs. So no dumb questions. If you do have a question, also leave a comment. I would love to answer it. I pay attention to my feed very well. Now, with the product key, you can type it in here. If you downloaded it and it gave you one, if it's just giving you a 90-day trial version, whatever. Even after the 90 days are up, by the way, it'll still allow you to use these virtual machines. The bottom right, it'll just say like, hey, you need to get a product key for this. So for the sake of this video, we're going to save some time. Now, this is an important step. We do not want to click Windows 10 Home. That'll have you set up a whole bunch of settings and like email addresses and create an account, and that is just too much to do. So we're gonna actually do Windows 10 Education, and this will allow us to skip a lot of those steps that we don't want to bother with, especially for just a learning environment. Another one is right here. Do not do upgrade, because there's no upgrade. There's no Windows on this virtual machine already. We need to do a custom install. And then don't worry here. This is the 50 gig virtual hard drive we made. This is not going to wipe your computer, right? This is only messing with those virtual gigs, or that virtual hard drive space of 50 gigs, I should say. And then we're going to go ahead and probably speed through this part, but this is just going to set up this machine. It's a little bit slow, so I'll get back to you once this is done. So hopefully this will restart for us. Don't click anything right here. When it says press any key to boot from CD or DVD, we're not doing that. We're just allowing it to restart itself. All right, so we're going to go through some normal setup. I'm in the United States. I'm going to use a US keyboard. I do not need another keyboard layout because we're only going to do these videos in an English US keyboard layout. Okay, skip for now. We're not worried about getting the latest updates in this video series. This is not even going to be connected to the internet when we're done. So instead of signing with a Microsoft account, we're just going to click domain join instead. It won't give you this option unless you click the education version. And then type in your name for this virtual machine, and then create a password for this virtual machine. And then click whatever security questions. We're literally going to do all the same stuff because it doesn't matter. Like I said, once again, these aren't going to be connected to your internet, and they're a virtual machine anyways. turn all this stuff off, location, diagnostics data. None of this matters for the purpose of learning, and this would just use bandwidth. And once again, these virtual machines, once we're done, aren't going to be connected to the internet anyways. No, we don't need Cortana. We're not doing voice activation for this series. Awesome. So we're in the virtual machine. We're going to do this real quick for the server machine as well, but I wanted to do a couple things real quick. So let's say you make this big screen and you see that, oh, okay, it doesn't go big, right? Or let's say you slide this over and you don't like these windows and you go big screen and you go little screen, you're like, okay, well, that's annoying. That bugs me because it's squared. Well, you can go up here and you can go to view and you can click scaled mode and click switch. And it will not do what we wanted it to do. That's funny. So we actually need to do, or is it this side? My bad. So to get it back to that, you want to actually click your right control key and C to bring it back. So, it should have been adjust window size, I actually believe. So if we drag this like this, and you click view, click adjust window size. So I clicked the one above it on accident. So if you just ever need to get it back to this point, like I said, you can just click view, adjust window size. If it got all messed up, use your right control on the right side of your spacebar and C to bring it back, like this. And then let's say you're trying to log back into this computer. So let me sign out, and you're right here. Sometimes it'll have you need to control alt delete. Like if we restart this machine, it'll want us to control alt delete to get to this screen. So if you wanted to do that, or you needed to do that, and it kept doing it on your normal desktop, what you're actually going to use is control alt delete on the right side of your spacebar on your keyboard. So you do control alt delete on the right side, and then it would actually do it in the virtual machine to allow you to get in here. Also, if that doesn't work for whatever reason, you can actually click input keyboard and then soft keyboard, and it'll pop it up on your screen like this, and you click control alt and delete, and it will log you in just like that. I don't know why it always does that. It always makes you type it in twice. Okay, so now, once again, we need to do the Windows Server 2022 video. And then for this one, I'm actually just going to go down and do other Windows 64-bit, like so. And then I'm going to also switch this to 496. Create a virtual hard disk, virtual disk image, dynamically allocated. 20 gigs is more than fine. If you guys want to pause the screen and copy these settings, please do so. And we're going to start this machine. But it was essentially, well, we forgot to do the bi-directional, but we'll get to that later. So we're going to do Windows Server 2022, like we had you guys download. And there is one important thing in here as well that you need to pay attention to when you're setting this up, or it's not going to be right. It'll give you like a command line interface, and for the purpose of this videos and a lot of companies, through my experience and talking to other professionals, they will usually use a graphical user interface to administrate their server on like a dedicated device. So once again, if you have a product key, go ahead and type it in. If you don't worry about it. So in here, we want to do the Windows Server 2022 standard desktop experience. This is going to give us a graphical environment, like it says right here. This one, I'll give you a graphical environment, but it's closer to a command line, right? And then once again, custom install, not upgrade, because there's nothing to upgrade on here. And we're going to go through this. Once again, don't click anything right here. Just let it restart on its own. All right. So we need to, create a password. Interesting, they didn't line up. We'll just do this. All right. So once again, you can do the right side of the keyboard, Control Alt Delete, or we could do keyboard like this, Control Alt Delete, and it let us in. So awesome. Just like that. All right, so we have both machines set up. So there's some things we need to do real quick. Yes, that's fine. Trust the network. It's just connecting to the internet that our computer's connected to, right? So we actually need to close these machines down and change some settings now that they're set up. So save the machine state. We actually want to power off the machine, which will take it a little bit longer to boot up for both the Windows 10 and the Server 2022. So there's one more thing that we need to do. And we need to go to settings, we need to go to network, we need to do a bridged adapter, or let's try internal network, and we'll call this one test 1, and we'll go down here, we'll click settings on the other one, we'll click test 1, we'll connect these devices, we'll click start, and we'll click start. We'll get both of these devices to boot up for us. I'm going to do input, Control Alt Delete, go over here, and then go to this one. And then we need to do this and check our IP configurations. This one is still booting up, so it's being a little bit slow. I'm stupid. Look at those. Look at those subnets. So they're actually on the same network. They always were. Nice. So you can actually see that in here, these are 255, 255, 255, 255 for their subnets. So actually, we only care about the first two numbers being the same. The other numbers don't matter because those are assigned to the device, because I just wasn't paying attention. So what we need to do is we need to attempt to ping the other device. So if we do ping 169.254.145.188, and we'll see if that one will ping. And then what we're going to do is try to ping this other device on the left side of the screen, 169.254.145.188. And we can see that we actually got pings. So the Windows server could ping the Windows 10 machine, but the Windows 10 machine couldn't ping the server, right? So what we want to do is go to Windows, so we can do firewall too, right? So we would click the Windows Defender firewall with advanced security settings. And in here, we're going to scroll down and we are worried about inbound rules. So under inbound rules, if we scroll down until we find network diagnostics, where discovery. Oh, here we go. Core network diagnostics. My bad. So we can see on here, pinging usually uses an ICMP request like this. So request in, you can see on the end of that one, it says in, and on the end of this one, that's an echo request. That's interesting. It has 2 in requests, and they're both v4s, and it has in, so whatever. So we're going to do a core network diagnostics echo request ICMP v4 in. We're going to click on it and click enable rule, right? And then we're going to come over here, click the up arrow, and click ping this device and see if it'll ping it with changing that rule. So it didn't. We're going to enable the other one as well. And there it goes. So we enabled the bottom one. For some reason, oh, it shows domain and private. That's where I should have paid attention. So private, public, we're allowing it to ping. So now we know that if we do this again, that was the difference. I was paying attention too much to the names and not the rest of the information. So now we can see that the rest, or it can ping. So we know these two devices can talk to each other now, right? And that's kind of the big thing for now. That's all we need to worry about for this video. The video is already getting long enough. But this sets it up where we know these two devices are on the same network and they can communicate with each other, right? And we verified that by pinging and also by seeing that they're on the same subnet. Anyways, sorry, there's a little hiccup there at the end. But it's set up. So stay tuned for episode 2, where we're going to go over more group policy and doing administrative rules within Windows Active Directory. My name's Abe. I hope you guys learned something from this video. Stay tuned for episode 2.